Welcome back. In this video, we're going to design how every single item should look like in our lazy column. So inside of our list, basically. And you can see that we have a text, another text, and two buttons with icons. So that's the UI that we want to achieve. And therefore I am inside of my shopping list KT file, and I'm going to create another composable outside of shopping list app, which means all the way down here. So we're closing the shopping list app, and we see in my case, it's line 115. In your case, the line number will slightly differ. So what do I want to have here? I want to have a composable, right? So we're going to create our own composable. We're going to design how such a shopping list item should look like. Now, what are the details that we want to pass to such an shopping list item object? Well, let's look at it. The thing is, we need to pass, first of all, the shopping item itself so that we know the name of it as well as the quantity. And then we need to pass what should happen when the buttons are clicked. So when we click on the edit button and when we click on the delete button. So let's pass all of that to our shopping list item once we have added the curly brackets so that the error disappears. Now, the first thing will be the item of type shopping item. The second one will be the on edit click, which will take in 1 or 0 parameters and will return unit. And then we're going to have an on delete click, which will do the same thing. Now, what we have here is a lambda function, and this is also a lambda function. So a lambda function gets executed when the edit action is triggered. And that specifically for our shopping list item. Now, it doesn't take any parameters, which you can see here, and it doesn't return a value. So what that basically means is we can pass a function as on edit click as the parameter. So we're using an empty lambda or a very simplistic lambda expression, and lambda expressions are basically very short form functions that you can modify so that they just take a lot less code, and it's just a way how you can pass or like how you can set up a functions parameters to accept functions as well. So now we can pass a function to our shopping list item at the position of on edit click that will not require any parameters, and it will not return anything. So that's what this unit thing does. So that basically means that we can just execute code at its position. Now, where did we see that before? Well, we did not see it in that fashion, but we do see it every single time that we are using on click. So we've seen it in multiple different areas, but here on click, for example, if you look at it, on click is the same thing. It says opening brackets, then, well, basically this is the lambda again, then dash arrow unit. So this thing here is basically the code that we say should be executed when on click is clicked. That's pretty much it. So we have been using this all the time, but we have never actually created one of those on clicks ourselves. So now that is what's happening here. So we are creating our own on click, and we say what should happen once we call this function. So when we call this function, we can pass code directly into the function, and that code that we pass will be executed once this function will be called. So it's really powerful and might be a little complicated to understand, but just use it a little bit and then it will feel more natural over time. So yeah, that's pretty much really cool. That's pretty much what this thing does. So now let's go ahead and say what should be inside of our shopping list item. And I would say putting everything into a row is a good idea, because if you look at it, everything is next to each other. So when items are next to each other, you use a row where items are positioned next one by one towards the horizontal side, And then if you want to do it on a vertical level, you would use columns, right? So this row, now let's define how it's going to behave. And I'm just going to use a modifier here where I'm going to say, okay, add a little bit of padding, let's say 8 density pixels. Then make sure that you fill the entire width, so max width. Then add a little border. Okay, what is this border going to be? Well, a border, you can see, needs a border stroke and a shape. So if you hover over it, it says, well, width, brush, shape, and there are multiple iterations of this border. So we're going to use the one where we're going to pass the border, which is going to be of type border stroke. So we need to just type in border stroke and see what this will say. So this is basically a composable again. You see it's under compose foundation. So a border stroke, which basically just means a line. Okay, so we're just saying, okay, border stroke line. And here we need to pass the width. So I'm just going to say, okay, let's do it 2 density pixels wide. And then we need to pass a color. Now you can use all kinds of colors. You could go ahead and say color.black, white, blue, and all of that. Or you can pass your own color in here, but then you would need to pass a hexadecimal value. So something like F018786 would be such a color that you can pass. So this color here will be the color that you can see here on the left-hand side, which is this cyan color. I think cyan, which is this color that we have as a border. Okay, so now playing around with this value, you can modify what the border is going to look like. Okay, that's our border. And then we can also define the shape of it. So we can, for example, say that the shape should be, well, the border should be cornered or rounded, and I want it to be rounded. And if I want it to be rounded, I can use this rounded corner shape. Okay, so this rounded corner shape, I just need to pass the %. So, well, there are multiple different options. You can add the size and density pixels as a corner size. So there are many different overrides of this function, but I'm just going to use 20%, which just creates the border to be as rounded as you can see it here in my case. Okay, so right now we don't have any content, so let's just add any content for now just to see something. Okay, and I'm just going to say the text should be item.name, and the modifier here should be that I want to have a little bit of padding. So modifier.padding with 8 density pixels. So you see, this 8 density pixels is something that we use quite often. That's just the normal number that you use whenever you want to position items next to each other. You add 8 density pixels. Also on the side, you have 8 or 16 density pixels. So I would say, let's just use this shopping list item briefly for now inside of our application. So inside of our, well, just inside of this lazy column. So let's go ahead and use this shopping list item, and let's just say we pass the shopping item. So we pass it, comma, and then 2 empty brackets. So these are the on edit and on edit, well, on delete click. So we're saying on edit, don't do anything. On delete click, don't do anything. But for now, just display the shopping list item with it being the current item that we are looking at inside of our as items list. So this is the list of items that we have inside of our list. So let's go ahead and run this code and just create one list real quick. We're going to design the rest in the next video because there were too many little things I needed to explain in this one. For example, this whole lambda thing, which is quite advanced, but only if you are afraid of it. So let's go ahead and create an item. So let's say we need a new keyboard, and we buy one of them. When we click add, and you see keyboard has been added to our well, as an item. We don't have the quantity yet, we don't have the buttons yet, we don't have anything that will be executed once we click on the buttons, but for now that's the user interface. So now let's add another item, and this one will be, let's say, a mouse for our PC, and click add, and we see mouse is there as well. So we have that down. Now let's go ahead in the next video and add the individual items. Now you could obviously try this by yourself, at least to display the quantity yourself, and I would recommend to do that. So let's create an exercise, or do an exercise where we add the next property to our row here.